We continue in our Mishna Yomi Limud. We now find ourselves in today's section, which is Perek Beis, Chapter 2, Mishnayos Beis and Gimel, Mishnayos 2 and 3. So Mishnah Beis says as follows, Amdu b'tfilah. So remember again, in the last Mishnah, we saw that during these fast days, they would move the ark, they would move the Aron out to the street, placing ash on the Aron, on the heads of the community leaders. So now the Mishnah says, Amdu b'tfilah. They would go ahead and they would stand to daven. So who would daven? So they would gather to remember the whole point of this entire assembly in the street, out in public, was a tfilah gathering, to daven for the rain. So Amdu b'tfilah, moridin lefnei teva zakin v'ragyo. So who would lead the tfilos? Who was the chazan? Who was the shliach tzibor? So they would bring before the tzibor a zaken, someone who was old, the ragyo. Ragyo means someone who is accustomed to davening. So someone who knows the words, someone who knows the text, someone who won't stumble. V'yesh lo banim, someone who has children, ubeso rekam, but someone does not have parnasa. So this is incredible. So we find someone who's old, because the assumption is that someone who's old has... Now, old, by the way, doesn't have to be elderly, but old means someone with some degree of life experience. Ragil, he knows how to daven, he has children. We go on someone who has children because someone who has children feels the responsibility for family and feels the incredible intensity when the rain has not fallen. Perhaps he doesn't have the ability to feed his family. And that's why it says Beso Rekam, someone who's lacking parnasa. Because a person who doesn't have what he needs in order to sustain his family will daven with a heightened level of sensitivity and a heightened level of intensity. Kedei libo shalim b'tfilah, in order that his heart be complete with the tefillah. So the Mishnah understands it's such an incredible insight into davening. When I really need something, I daven with greater kavanah. When I don't really need something, I still daven with kavanah, but the intensity is not the same. And therefore the Mishnah says, here when we're in the midst of crisis, because there's no rain, who do you want to put up as the shliach tzibor? You want to put someone who really feels the intensity of the moment. So someone who has children but cannot support them. Va'omer lefneim esrim va'arba brachos. And as we'll see, the tefillah, the Shmona Esrei that they said, had 24 brachos. The Shmona Esrei Shebachol Yom, how do you get 24? Remember, 18 brachos that are part of Shmona Esrei every day. It's really 19, but we call it 18 brachos. Umosif alehen od sheish. And again, for fast days, because of rain, they would add on an additional 6 brachos. That's Mishnah. We'll discuss what the brachos are. That's the conclusion of Mishnah Beis. We now find ourselves in Mishnah Gimel, the third Mishnah in the second chapter of Maseches Taanis. The Elohim. So now the Mishnah is going to go through the 6 supplemental brachos, which are added into the Shmona Esrei of a fast day. So remember again, we have the 18 of a regular Shmona Esrei, and now the supplemental 6. What are they? Zichronos v'shofaros. So remember again, there was a bracha of Zichronos. Now, interestingly enough, remember, Zichronos and Shofaros are part of the Rosh Hashanah davening. Zichronos refers to the fact that Hashem remembers everything. Shofaros has to do with the coronation of Hashem through the blowing of the shofar. So bracha number 1 is Zichronos. Bracha number 2 is Shofaros. Next, El Hashem betzaraseli karasi veya'aneni. I call out to Hashem, or to Hashem, in the midst of my difficulties. I have called out, and you have answered me. This is chapter 120 in Tehillim. Next, so remember that's the third bracha. The fourth bracha, Esa Einai El Haharim, which is kapitel Kuf Chaf Aleph, chapter 121 in Tehillim. Fifth bracha, Mima'amakim Kirasicha Hashem, which was Mizmar Kuf Lamed, chapter 130 in Tehillim. And then the sixth bracha, Tfilah Lo'ani Kiyatov. A tfilah, right? The prayer. Remember again, Mima'amakim Kirasi. I'm sorry, let me go back for just a moment. So remember again, the fourth bracha was Esa Eina El Harim, which was again, chapter 121 in Tehillim. I lift my eyes to the mountain, from where will my salvation come? Bracha number 5, Bima'amakim Kirasicha Hashem, chapter 130 in Tehillim. I call out to Hashem from the depths. And bracha number 6, which was chapter 102, Kuf Beis, in it Tehillim, Tefillah la'ani kiyatov. Literally, again, the tefillah, the prayer of an impoverished person when he wraps himself. So these are the 6 brachos. So essentially what you have, if you could imagine, is you have 18 brachos of Shemona Esrei. You have a bracha of Zichronos, and again, we'll get into the text of all of these brachos, but you have bracha of Zichronos, remembrance, bracha of Shofros, and then again, essentially, 4 chapters of Tehillim. But interestingly enough, these 4 chapters are inserted, and each chapter also gets its own concluding bracha for a total of 24 brachos in Shemona Esrei. Pretty incredible. Rabbi Huda disagrees. He says, Rabbi Huda says, no, you don't say Zichronos and Shofaros in Shemona Esrei on a fast day. Elo Omer Tachtein, instead of inserting those brachos, you recite 2 other things. Elo Omer Tachtein, Ra'av ki yihye ba'aretz, Dever ki yihye ba'aretz. This is actually a section in Malachim, in the book of Kings, chapter 8, from Pasuk 37, Pasuk Lamed Zayin and on, where again the Navi discusses famine, Ra'av ki yihye ba'aretz, or Dever, pestilence when it will be in the land. That's what you substitute, number 1. And substitution number 2 is Asher Hayu Dvar Hashem Yirmiyahu al Divrei Habatzaros. So from the book of Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah chapter 14, we recite this section. These are the words of Hashem to Yirmiyahu in times of affliction, al Divrei Habatzaros. Va'omrim Tachtein, and you conclude each of those sections with a concluding bracha. Va'omer chosmeyan, and then you recite the concluding bracha. So what turns out is as follows. Interestingly enough, everyone is going to agree that on the fast days there was a 24 bracha Shemona Esrei. Remember, the 18 are the basic brachos of Shemona Esrei. The first opinion in the Mishnah says the supplemental brachos are number 1 Zichronos, number 2 Shofaros, and then 4 chapters of Tehillim, each with their own concluding bracha. Rabbi Huda agrees with the 4 chapters of Tehillim, but he says instead of Zichronos and instead of Shofaros, we actually insert 2 pieces from Navi, from the prophets. 1 piece from Malachim, 1 piece from Yirmiyahu. So we'll stop over here for today. Emeretz Hashem, in the subsequent Mishnayos, we'll then go through the actual text of these brachos and get a better idea as to the moving nature of the tefillos during these fast days for rain. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.